Hi readers, today we're going to be working on iReady lesson RI 7.3. So today our lesson is about analyzing the interactions between individuals, events, and ideas to help figure out how they influence one another. So in case you're wondering what influence means to have an effect on a person or the course of events. So let's talk about what cause and effect relationships are. A cause makes something happen, and the effect is what happens as a result. So let me give you this really simple example. Jake failed the test because he didn't study. So these two events are related. What happened? Jake failed the test. What caused Jake to fail? He didn't study. The word because in my sentence, Jake failed the test because he didn't study, that kind of helps us signal the relationship that these two events have with one another. And so that's what we're going to be doing throughout this whole lesson is we're going to be looking at relationships and interactions between individuals, events, and ideas. All right, so one factor or set of factors may cause one or more effects. So let me give you an example on how we can have multiple effects. So I forgot to charge my cell phone, so it wouldn't work. Then when I got a flat tire, I couldn't call a service station or let the principal know that I'd be late. So my one cause was I didn't charge my cell phone. That's my cause. But the effects of not charging my cell phone were when I got a flat tire, I couldn't call for help, and I couldn't let my principal know that I was going to be late because my phone was dead. So those are two effects that happened because I didn't charge my phone. So paying attention to relationships among different factors in informational text will help you guys figure out how these individual events and ideas influence and interact one another. So I really want you to start paying really close attention. So let's get to work on this. So we're going to look at this cartoon, and I want us to consider the events in the cartoon below. So what effect does Og's complaint have on his wife, Erg? And what is her response? And how do these factors result in a new invention? So these are the things I want you to think about. So the cartoon says, Og wish Og had somewhere comfy to sit. And you can see Erg go, ah, and a little fire lights up over her head. You can tell she's thinking. Then she comes back and she presents him with the chair. So let's look. The idea was that Og needed a place that was comfy to sit. Well, that one idea influenced Erg, the inventor, as a person. So the idea influenced the individual. Now, that individual created something new, which was a chair. Okay, so let's look at this example. Flying Horses by Cynthia Hernandez. Do horses fly? Intelligent, well-educated people were still asking this question at the end of the 19th century. Although the age of believing in winged horses had long since passed, people still wondered if a horse ever lifted all four hooves off the ground at the same time. If someone could prove that a horse's hooves left the ground, then the answer would indicate that yes, in a sense, horses do fly. Edward Muybridge, photographer and adventurer, put an end to years of speculation. Through the use of a new technology, photography, he laid the question to rest at last. In 1872, Muybridge was working as a photographer in San Francisco when Leland Stanford, a former California governor, hired Muybridge to photograph his racehorse. Stanford wanted to know if all four hooves of a trotting horse actually leave the ground, even for an instant. Muybridge rapidly hatched a plan. Unfortunately, his early efforts were unsuccessful. Okay, so let's think. What people events, and ideas led to Muybridge's plan to photograph a horse? Think of the way the question about horses influenced Muybridge's actions. Okay, so let's look for a minute. I'm going to use the same organizer we used a minute ago. We have our idea, our individual, and our response. So we don't have our idea yet. That's still a question mark. So we've got to figure out what idea influenced Edward Muybridge and caused him to photograph Stanford's horse. So when I go back and I look, I underlined, people still wondered if a horse ever lifted all four hooves off the ground at the same time. Stanford hired Muybridge to photograph his racehorse. He wanted to know if all four hooves of a trotting horse actually leave the ground even for an instant. So I'm seeing some commonalities, and the idea that I'm seeing is, can horses fly? Do their hooves ever leave the ground? So we're going to continue to read, and as we're reading, I want us to think, how did Muybridge's ideas about photography and cameras help him figure out how horses move? And we're going to underline the sentence that explains what his high-speed photographs revealed, okay? So let's continue on reading. After several attempts, Muybridge finally succeeded in getting the proof Stanford needed. Muybridge set up a series of cameras in a line down the side of a horse track. As the horse passed by, its hooves snapped wires stretched across the track, which activated the camera shutters. A series of high-speed photographs resulted. The result amazed the public. The photographs showed clearly that a trotting horse had all four hooves off the ground at the same time. The pictures were a sensation, and Muybridge became an international figure. His successful camera techniques led him to photograph other animal movements too fast for people to see. Okay, so I want to go back and I want to underline the sentence that explains what the high-speed photographs revealed. So I want you to see if you can find that sentence. All right, so did you find the second sentence in the second paragraph? The photographs showed clearly that a trotting horse had all four hooves off the ground at the same time. All right, so that is the sentence that explained what the photographs revealed. Now I want you to stop and think, did that answer our question, our idea that got it all started? The idea that, can horses fly? That was the idea, remember, when we were looking back, that influenced the person to begin to photograph the horse. All right, so the last thing we're going to do is we're going to determine which sentence from the text best explains why the evidence provided by Muybridge changed the public's thinking about horses. So, which choice best describes the images that are caught by the cameras? Now, we have already underlined that sentence in the top, up in the text, so we know kind of what we're looking for. So, Stanford wanted to know if all four hooves of a trotting horse actually leave the ground even for an instant. Muybridge set up a series of cameras in a line down the side of a horse track. The photographs showed clearly that a trotting horse had all four hooves off the ground at the same time. His successful camera techniques led him to photograph other animal movements too fast for people to see. So our question is, which sentence best explains why the evidence provided by Muybridge changed the public's thinking? So which one do you think? Did you pick C? If you picked C, then you are correct. So I want us to look at one more thing before we go. Remember I said there could be more than one effect. So let's go back to me forgetting to charge my cell phone. I couldn't call for a tow truck, and I couldn't let my principal know that I was going to be late. So another effect that happened as a result of the photography that this gentleman conducted was that he began to photograph other animal movements that were too fast for people to see. So I just wanted to show you that one last little example of how we can have multiple effects. So the next thing you're going to do is you're going to go to practice it on your learning plan, and this is an opportunity for you to try to do this on your own. So good luck and have a great rest of your day, readers.